Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, how are you doing? We trust that everybody is doing just fine. Anyway, what's happening? I am a bit discombobulated because I am processing videos and I don't know if this video is completely It is. It finally completed. I had it running in the background because I really wanted to show you guys this particular video. Let me make sure that I absorbed the right video to make sure it's all right. But man, things are happening so fast. There's a farmer that came on just a few minutes ago that I wanted to process, but it didn't aspirate from computer number one into computer number two because it says computer number one is very busy processing. So we'll do that one tomorrow. Anyway, welcome aboard. AVQ is in the house. AVQ, where are my shorts? AVQ, where are my shorts? Anyway, thank you for being here. AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. We also have Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Patrick Magner is from Houston, Texas. Right here, we have Harry Denson is from para ver ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Él está en Missouri City, Texas. Whoa, I just had a flash. I think my graphics drivers have a few bugs in it because it brought the whole system down yesterday. Let's treat the system nicely to hope that we don't get any of the bugs coming. But in the house, we also have Lynn McSheely, Diane Amy Soros, Stuart Cohen, Jay Curtis. Let's see. Mary Trump is on her show. Is on whose show? Okay, we also have Victory Levy, Cindy, Kevin Lawrence, Julie, Lori White, Bobby K. How you doing, Bobby? And Garner. Thank you guys all for being here. As more people join in, we'll talk about a little bit more stuff. Anyway, the big talk about today is Donald Trump talking about nationalizing the race. Let's remember this. That is unconstitutional. So therefore, no, I didn't get. Yeah, it went real black for a second, and then it came back AVQ. But anyway, look. So he's talking about nationalizing the election, and many people are starting to talk about it and take it more seriously than they should. I think the answer that they need to give right now is everybody, from governors to senators to everybody else, should whenever a reporter who seems to fall for everything that Donald Trump says, whenever they ask the question, what do you think about Donald Trump and nationalization of our elections? Just immediately short answer. He can't do it. And if he attempts to do it, we'll take care of business. That's all. Don't go into complicated scenarios talking about Donald Trump coming and involucrado into elección, putting himself into your election. Don't fall for it. Don't create another story about it. I want to give you a corollary to that story. Do you remember when Donald Trump created the birther movement with Obama? Do you remember that? Nobody disputed. Let's understand this, and let me tell you why the media is so sorry. I'm talking about the mainstream media. All the time, Donald Trump said he had people in Hawaii looking for Obama's birth certificate, whether he was really born in Hawaii, which is also a state of the United States, of course. If he's born in Hawaii, he's born in the United States on American land. but they continue to go ahead and talk about the birth. It was his birth certificate, etc. None of that really mattered. It should have been something that the mainstream media squashed right away. Why? Because nobody disputed that President Obama's mother was this woman from Kansas. And if President Obama's mother was this woman from Kansas, it didn't matter if he was born in Angola. It didn't matter if he was born in Tanzania. It didn't matter if he was born in Uganda, in Kenya, in Thailand, in Indonesia. It did not matter because his mother was a natural born American citizen. By default, just like with Ted Cruz, he would be a natural born citizen because one of his parents was a born national citizen. Just like McCain, who was born in my country, Panama, la República de Panama, in the same hospital that I was born in, Cocosolo. McCain was born in the same hospital that I was born in Panama. I had Panamanian citizenship because my mother and father were born Panamanians. Mr. McCain, mother and father was born Americans, which made Mr. McCain a natural born American citizen, which is what's necessary constitutionally to be president. And the media allowed that story to go for years. And Obama went ahead and showed the picture. Obama was at fault as well. Obama should have said, look, I was born in Hawaii, but even if, and then he should have looked the media straight in the eyes and said, media, do your job. Even if I were born in Indonesia, Kenya, or wherever, the fact that my mother is a natural born citizen, I am a natural born citizen, end of discussion. Nothing else to talk about. Well, the same thing is about nationalizing the vote. There's nothing in the Constitution that would allow the president to nationalize the vote. Therefore, why are we wasting all the time, including myself here? But the time I'm wasting here is to tell you how the mainstream media screw these stories up. And that is, it is unconstitutional to do it. Same thing with birthright citizenship. If the Supreme Court comes back with anything other than validating birthright citizenship, then at that point in time, anything goes because we are a lawless community. We are a lawless system if that occurs. It means that we are no longer abiding by the Constitution itself. So we are either going to decide to be constitutional, and yes, there are times when the Supreme Court has reason to interpret the Constitution, or not. But we're not, and we should not waste insidious time on issues that really shouldn't even be discussed, that are only discussed by dummies and the sycophantics to dummies. Because again, I repeat, just like the birther movement made no sense, so does the idea of Trump nationalizing the election and that coming into our lexicon. Okay, my friends, so please, no fear, none of that. No fear, none of that. We promote ourselves like what we know. It is unconstitutional. Okay, who do I have the honor of speaking with?
Bobby.
Bobby, how you doing?
Hey, Egberto.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Hey, do you remember during Trump's first term when he took out the sorting machines from the post offices?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I was just thinking about that earlier from your earlier show when Johnny was talking about the post offices, and then you were talking about they were, doing a great job. And I just had to remember that from earlier, and I was thinking to myself, man, that's just another example of him, like, doing whatever he can to try to control the vote. And I just thought
Right.
that was, like, so Like, how do you dismantle an organization like that and take out $1 million machines and tell them just throw them in the bag, scrap them? Just trying to
Well,
just doing anything you can to keep the votes from the Democratic areas from coming in.
Well, let me just say
Crazy.
this about the
Anyway,
post
that's all.
office, right? Before you go, let me just explain
Yeah.
something about the post. The post office is a quasi-independent unit, and it turns out that the president cannot control the post office. What he does is they assign governors to the post office. When I say governor, I mean the people who run the post office. I think it's five of them, or
Right. He had appointed somebody like a post office
exact
general or whatever who was
right,
like his crony that just did what he said.
right.
Yeah.
And the
I
problem
mean,
here is that
it's unbelievable.
the problem is that whereas he pushes the limit, like you notice, he tries to fire people that, technically speaking, he doesn't have the ability to fire, and the Republicans let him get away with it. Unlike the president, when Biden could have done something about it, Biden didn't. So there we go. To some of us who always say we fight with one hand behind the back, meaning Democrats fight with one hand behind the back, that is true. It is something that we have to mitigate by electing real progressives that are not scared of fighting. Thank you very much
Right.
for calling in, Bobby.
I I have one more comment.
Go
This
ahead.
and him taking the ballots and all the things that he's doing is just showing you how terrified he is that the average person will finally get tired of everything and actually get down and vote. He is
Well,
terrified of that. That's his worst
let me
fear.
let me tell you what, it's even worse because this one hasn't made a lot of made it onto the media quite yet very well. Marjorie Taylor's district, she's quitting, right? Well, that
Right.
district is now in danger of being flipping to a Democrat. Think about that.
Right. I think if everybody would go vote, we'd find out just how blue this state really is. But anyway, you have a good
Right.
afternoon, Egberto.
You, Thank you very much, Bobby. All right, folks, continuing with the
Uh,
program. Thank you for calling in, Bobby. All right, continuing with the program. The border czar today. The border czar today gave a speech or a press conference in Minneapolis where he said, "I'm working a little bit better with the mayor and the governor, and as he's talking, he has to play the tough part and say, but you people need to stop protesting the way you are and impeding our people from doing their jobs, da 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 da." Well, and then the only part that I cut out of that speech today, that press conference, was the part where he had the nerve to say that his agents are patriotic. That is the only piece that I wanted to stress and point out to all of you good people that are listening to the program right now, because I want to make sure that nobody has the inkling into falling for the crap that says the ICE thugs are anything other than what they are. ICE thugs. No ifs, no buts. ICE thugs. Bartazar Tom what? Tom Holman. Bartazar Tom Holman came out in Minnesota and gave a press conference where he is saying that the cooperation was going fairly well between the governor and the mayor, etc. They came to a few agreements, even though they don't agree on everything. And he said the important thing is for people to stop interfering with what the ICE thugs are doing, etc., etc., etc. And what he then said was it really caught me off guard. He said that these ICE agents are patriots and that they have the full support of himself and the president of the United States. Now, listen to how he says it. It's a very short clip, and then we'll come right back.
The federal law enforcement personnel, ICE and CBP, and other partner agencies are patriots. And they've carried out their duties patriotically, with integrity, with professionalism and compassion. I've said this many times. These men and women don't hang their heart on a hook when they come to work. President Trump and I strongly stand with them.
Now, let me tell you, ICE agents, there is absolutely nothing patriotic about them. Most of them, no matter who they are imposing the white supremacists, the white nationalists, the white Christian nationalist persona onto all the people that work for them. And as such, they are terrorizing Americans. Look, just a little short clip of a few of what they do. Check this out.
Please, I can beat up by police before I'm disabled trying to go to the doctor up there. That's why I didn't move.
Federal immigration agents shot her 5 times after their cars collided in Chicago last October. And Martinez maintains that the agents swerved into her car on purpose. And according to Congressman Robert Garcia, who helped organize today's forum, the agent that shot her allegedly bragged about it.
The agent linked an article about your shooting and texted, "Read it. 5 shots, 7 holes. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys."
New video of the moment Renee Nicole Good was shot by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. It is video the agent himself, Jonathan Ross, appears to be recording on his cell phone as it happened. Vice President J.D. Vance just reposted it, claiming it proves Ross was acting in self-defense. We will let you watch it. We will also warn you that it is hard to watch.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Whoa! Good.
Many will likely disagree with Vance's conclusion there, as the moment of potential impact was not itself caught on camera, just a noise. They might also note what Good's demeanor was in the moments before the shooting, and also what the agent appeared to say in the aftermath of that shooting.
The fuck, people? The fuck is wrong with you? Honestly. Did you just do? What the fuck did you just do? What the fuck? What the fuck?
So let's be clear here. There is absolutely nothing patriotic about the ICE thugs. There is nothing at all that they use to make us safe. They're not making us safe. What they are, again, and I say this not in jest. I mean this. They are nothing more than murderous thugs. That's who ICE agents and the border patrols are. Nothing more. We should all consider them murderous thugs. They are either murderous thugs in the making, or they're already accomplished that task. It is time for us to get rid of them altogether and institute a real force that has our interests at hand. And let me just say one thing. For those who claim that they're going after people that are making us so unsafe, the reality is immigrants, both documented and undocumented, commit much less crimes than born American citizens. And likewise, they actually have a net positive on our taxes and economy. Don't be fooled. They are a net positive to this country. And if you get them all out of here, you'll see all these other factors increase.
All of our country's problems from polarization.
And that is the case, folks. When you make prejudice, when you allow prejudice to dictate policy, it is something that is always many times fatal. Lynette from Northeast PA, how you doing, Lynette? Welcome aboard. March KJ, welcome to Politics Done Right. What else have we got? What else have we got here? Kevin Lawrence, welcome aboard as well. Eric from Kingwood, Atascocita. Udi Deemer from somewhere in 288. I always forget your town. You have to tell me 3 times so I can remember. Carl Cox is in the house. He wants everyone to know I'm here and we see you. E2247 in the house. He says, I want your best Occam razor analysis hypothesis of the global tidbits. So, Polish Prime Minister Tusk starts Poland intelligence service investigation of Epstein as Russian spy, get compromat on all the pedophiles. 47 was EP's best friend all those years. Do you think 47 is a Russian spy? I don't need to ask that question at all. I don't need to ask that question. Of course he is. Of course he is a Russian spy, whether implicitly or explicitly. I want you guys to remember when Donald Trump went into office the very first time, right? I want you to remind you go ahead and check out that he brought I don't remember if it's the ambassador or whatever into the Oval Office as soon as he got there, into the Oval Office. So it was amazing that somehow he did that. He doesn't know if this guy came in with one of those micro bugs that he could have laid down in the none of that. I mean, so the question is E2247. Do I think he's a spy? Wouldn't surprise me at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But I don't think we would necessarily call it a spy. Just that I think he works in the service of Russia. And what's happening with the Epstein files as we find out that there's a whole lot of compromat going on. If you take a look at things like Lindsey Graham and why Lindsey Graham has turned into such a sycophant with Donald Trump and why these guys walk lockstep and barrel with Donald Trump, you have to wonder how much somebody has on these people who are willing to give up on their own pride, their own being, right? To do what they're doing. It is shameful, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. Welcome aboard, Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia. How are you doing? Great having you here. Paul Fleming says Donald Trump has been telling us that if he doesn't like the outcome of the elections, he will seize the ballots. He wants Republicans to take control of voting. He wants to take over elections in Democratic states. That is when the people have to rise up. If Donald Trump sends his goons in to try to any voter office to get the ballots, we are let me just put the word out. Minnesota is the template. Minnesota has created the design for how to mobilize people on a dime's notice. And that is exactly what we have to be prepared for, not only in blue states, but in blue areas in red states. And I think there are going to be a lot more blue areas in red states coming along. Because like I told you, we just won this big red district in Texas in the Fort Worth area. We're also on the verge, or not on the verge. It seems like we may be able to flip Marjorie Taylor's district. So it really seems like MAGA is in fact collapsing to just the few that continue to have their brains fried. And if that is the case, you know, it's going to be a lot bigger in November than we expect. And if he tries to send his goons, we are going to be ready. I don't know if you know that 28th is the No Kings, the new No Kings March, and when the 28th comes along, we'll be ready. E2247 says Trump cover up unravels as Russian link is revealed. Um, I didn't see that part. I'll have to look at that short. Let's see if I hope it doesn't have any music. Let me check that out first. E2247 to see if it's something we can actually. Okay, it looks like maybe I can do it. How long is this one? Okay, it doesn't look like it's too long. All right, I'll play that one for you. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's see if I can get that done rather quickly. Here we go. There we go, right
Following
there.
the money may lead to a connection between Jeffrey Epstein, Vladimir Putin, and back towards Donald Trump based on new allegations raised by the Daily Mail and old allegations that are resurfacing about the closeness of the connection between Donald Trump, his family business, and the Russians, and between Epstein and Putin. Did, for instance, Epstein run his child sex trafficking ring in order to benefit Vladimir Putin, many of the women being from the former Soviet Union or Russia? Did Putin use Epstein, the new reporting suggests, to ensnare powerful American men and use that against them for extortive purposes? Look, there's been allegations, including at the highest level of our intelligence community, that Donald Trump was an asset of the Russians. And many of the actions that he's done over the years suggest that he has, if not an asset relationship, at least a peculiar fondness for what is a mortal enemy of America, its democracy, and its way of life. If you like this.
Well, you know what is interesting, folks? With Bill Gates' wife coming out today and having some commentary that gives validity to that billionaire being involved with that billionaire being involved with Epstein, and with so many other powerful guys being involved with Epstein. Guess what? It's not at all inconceivable. It's not at all inconceivable that this is the play. All these guys that look at our billionaires, Musk, but nobody cares about Musk because what? Musk is a guy with a whole ton of children, with a whole lot of different women. So his depravity has been known. So I don't know that his depravity can have any sort of effect on, societal whatever. But then when you take a look at the others that it can affect, Bill Gates and many others, and who knows what we know about Lindsey Graham and all the others, we don't know, So look, this stuff could turn out to be more real than I could have thought about, right? It could have some other ulterior things going with it. All right, there's a report that came out today that I want to cover, and it has to do with let's see. Lee Grant says, by the way, the federal government has a role in national elections. Of course, it has a role in national elections, but it's controlled by the states. Period. No doubt about it. That was a special cutout, and it had to do with the Voting Rights Act, and because of what was done by states. Yeah. So yeah, there is role, but that role is defined and has been, in fact, defined. Anyway, so let me go ahead and let you listen to this other one that I just prepared before I came here, which is one of the reasons I was a minute and a half late. Here we go with this one. Extra, extra. Read all about it. Something we've been telling you all along as this country under Donald Trump and white supremacists, white nationalists, white Christian nationalists continue to use their prejudice to throw out the undocumented workers under the pretense that somehow they are corrupt. Somehow what they do is they cost us more than they give us. That somehow they're making our deficit worse. That somehow our tax dollars are going to them. Well, a conservative think tank, Cato Institute, they went ahead and did the study. they had to go ahead and find out, you know what they want to do, likely find out if it's true. Well, it turns out that even this study, and it's likely has some bias in it, comes out and say that these guys, our undocumented and documented immigrants, are a net positive to our economy. And they have been responsible for reducing our deficit. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side.
So the Cato Institute, which is a nonpartisan public policy research organization, has released a new report looking at how immigrants, both legal and undocumented, have affected the U.S. government's debt and deficit over the past 30 years. The report found that from 1994 to 2023, immigrants have helped reduce the deficit by more than $14 trillion. Data shows that every year during that time, immigrants have paid more in taxes than they received in benefits from the federal, state, and local governments. While some politicians have blamed immigrants for the budget deficit, the report found that even if the government had not spent $1 on immigrants while still getting all their tax revenue, the U.S. government would still have run a $20 trillion deficit. The Cato Institute also noted that between 2013 and 2024, U.S. citizens accounted for 95% of federal welfare fraud losses. Non-citizens represented less than 5% of fraud loss. And Walter Isaacson, this is particularly timely since the surge in Minneapolis that has led to these confrontations, that have led to these deaths, was predicated about allegations of fraud about the Somali immigrant community there. When the numbers show, and like we're going, it's case by case there's some allegations of fraud, sure, other cases well overblown, but big picture, this research shows it's not immigrants that are the problem.
Well, definitely, and that's no surprise that immigrants indeed add to the economy, and they don't add to the deficit.
So for all of you that are racist, for all of you that are prejudiced, for all of you that are anti-immigrant, for all of you that are xenophobes, all of you that want to get rid of these brown people and black people under the pretext that they are costing us and somehow our dollars are going to them. Remember, having them here actually gives you dollars. Having them here is what allows your Social Security to last a bit longer. Having them here is what allows a lot of your welfare to be more sustainable. So before you start casting stones and putting onto these people, these very hard workers, these people that make America great, not you who make America great, these people who make America great, maybe you should start realizing that your prejudice is going to cost you a lot more than just having a little bit of love.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues.
Yes, maybe if you just have a little bit of love instead of that hate, you would, in fact, do better. I mean, think about it. Think about it. If you that in effect we take such advantage of immigrants, we should be ashamed. We have a lot of capitalists making a hell of a lot of money on immigrants by locking them up, using their bodies as a source of income. All those warehouses that you are paying for is a way of transferring your dollars into all those companies that work for Trump, those construction companies to upgrade these warehouses, to put cages in these warehouses, those food companies that are going to sell them yesterday's food to feed all these people that were once working in restaurants, productive, paying taxes, paying Social Security taxes, propping up your Social Security, propping up your welfare, and costing us more money because they were giving us taxes. Even as undocumented, they were giving us taxes. Now, for us locking them up, we are collecting more taxes from all of us to lock them up, not make any money from them, as the plutocrats, the capitalists, the evil ones make a lot of money. How stupid. Racism, prejudice, xenophobia, that the stupidity of that. Look at the harm that it does. And you sit down and think about it. After they're locked up and you don't see the suffering that they're going through in these concentration camps here in the United States, it's this, you don't even get the benefit of seeing the suffering that will make you happy. You don't, the suffering that you dream of that make you happy, you racist and prejudiced ones. You don't even get to get the pleasure of seeing the pain that they're going through, but you're sure paying for it. You're sure going to get less Social Security for it. I tell you, white supremacy harms white people more than it harms anybody else. Let me just tell you that. Because again, that hate that you've allowed to instill in your heart by that evil master you follow harms you more than anybody else. Because again, look at what we've done. All right, let me tell you something, guys. I remember fondly, I remember when the paper, my newspaper of choice, in fact, I am a subscriber, I've been a subscriber for decades to the Washington Post. It was my newspaper, my national newspaper of choice. Yep, I read La Prensa from Panama. I read a couple of newspapers from France and Spain. There's a German paper translated in English that I read. But in the United States, the Washington Post was my paper of choice. I even though I subscribed to the New York Times as well, I gave a lot less credence to the New York Times, given that they put us into Iraq, right? For all practical purposes. When Jeff Bezos bought, you were asking about Compromat earlier, E2247. I wonder what they have on Jeff Bezos. When Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post, several things occurred. The Washington Post was about to endorse Kamala Harris, and he prohibited the editorial department from endorsing her, prohibited them from doing it. Now, today, I want you to check this out. When I saw this, it was like independent media is going to be a lot more difficult to work because a lot of these good reporters that formed the genesis of a lot of our stories. In other words, let me tell you about independent reporters as well as the ones that are there working for, let's say, the Washington Post, etc. Newspapers like the Washington Post and the New York Times, they are great collectors of raw data, right? They don't necessarily expand on that data as we would hope that they do. And many a times they don't expand on that data because they can't, because of who they'll harm. They do collect the data. You know, they are embedded inside of Washington and they get all the information, and a lot of times they're able to point you to snippets that you need to get to. But we need them. We need them. And why? Because they have the market penetration. They have the contacts. They have all these things that a lot of the independent media doesn't. So what we are able to do is, yes, we report on a lot of stuff. We interpret a lot of stuff. But a lot of times, the monies that these guys offer or command with the research that they can do, we can build stories off of that. If you take a look at when I play these videos from MSN, MS Now, etc., people say like, well, what are you doing? Well, if you take a look at the video with the Homeland Security person, they just reported as Tom Horman says this, and he says that. We take that story and we make it clear that it's not just Tom Horman saying people behave yourself. It's not just Tom Horman saying, Holman saying, stop the thing. We give it more context. We let folks know, nope. The reality is that if you take all these stories from different places and put them together, it is clear that ICE is an evil institution. It's comprised of thugs. And you tie that with independent reporter Laura Jadid and others, it is very clear that we can actually, as independent reporters, put that all together and say, these guys are thugs. Now we've lost a third of the Washington Post. Here's the story. The Washington Post, and by the way, who's reporting it? This is being reported by Brad Reed, independent media, Common Dreams. The Washington Post announced massive cuts to its new newsroom staff on Wednesday, unleashing a wave of disgust directed towards its owner, billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. As reported by Semaphore, reported Maxwell Tanney, the Washington Post executive director Matt Murray told staffers at the paper that it would be closing its sports department in its current form and would also be killing its book section, suspending its Post Reports podcast. Why would you get rid of a podcast? It doesn't cost you a lot of money to run the podcast. But I'll tell you the backstory after that. Restructuring its metro section and shrinking its international footprint. What? With hundreds of journalists expected to lose their jobs, Murray told Post employees that the cuts were needed to help the paper become more essential to people's lives in what is becoming a more crowded, competitive, and complicated media landscape. And after some years, when candidly, the Post has had struggles to do that. Remember, this newspaper is owned by a billionaire. All he needs to do, look, Jeff Bezos has hundreds of billions of dollars, right? He could say, for the common good, hear me out, guys. For the common good, I am going to take $1 billion of my many billion dollars, put it into a fund, and the appreciation of that fund will be more than enough to fund those 300 reporters. Let's call it $100,000 reporter. They may make a little bit more than that, but some of them a little bit less than that. It is something that is doable. By just putting $1 billion in a fund, that can fund that 300 people for the foreseeable future. That's all you had to do. But that's what capitalism looks like. That is what capitalism looks like. He can't possibly spend that money. And the altruistic thing for him to do would have been to keep those reporters at the Post and keep reporting. So you have to know there is likely something else. Many critics, however, scoffed at claims that cuts at the paper were needed to make it profitable, suggesting the real motivation came from Bezos' desire to take an axe to the U.S. free press. And that's what it is. Brian Phillips, senior writer at The Ringer, rejected the notion that one of the richest men in the world couldn't afford to keep what was once a revered paper fully staffed. Bezos isn't destroying the Washington Post because it isn't profitable, he wrote in the social media post. He's destroying the Washington Post because he's calculated that a robust free press threatens the ability of his class to warp society around their interests. In other words, keep them dumb. Keep them dumb. Keep y'all dumb. Phillips also implored other journalists to not report on the post layoffs as a straightforward business story. It is not. And thank you for saying that. That's where the independent media comes in that I'm telling you about. We can't just report this as a business story. It is not. But rather a story about coercive social transformation being imposed by people so rich they've ceased to see the rest of us as legitimate stakeholders in our own lives. David Sirota, founder of The Lever, said the layoffs should end journalists' fantasies that billionaire owners will rescue journalism in an era of mass consolidation by corporate conglomerate slash newsroom budget and wave after wave of layoffs. The media world's stunned, shocked reaction to the awful WAPO layoffs, Washington Post layoffs, shows that even now, so many in journalism still can't believe billionaires aren't going to rescue them. This is a wake up call. Oligarchs are not the benevolent saviors media have long depicted them to be. That is because oligarchs are parasites. How many times have I said it? They create nothing. They simply work on our backs. That's who oligarchs are. That's what capitalism does. Capitalism is extractive. Capitalism is usury. Capitalism depends on us. And the faster we realize that, the quicker things will work. That's why we have to be here. That's why independent media has to continue. But we now have a fracture. And I am not sure exactly how that fracture is going to work. I am not sure yet. I am not sure yet. Adam Sewer of The Atlantic also raised concerns about the power of wealthy oligarchs to buy and destroy historic media institutions. In other words, these billionaires are going to jump in, buy these newspapers, and then gut them. And you do that to prevent the people from having that fourth estate that's going to inform them. That's where we're at. We should prohibit billionaires from owning these newspapers. But in the interim, well, we'll talk about that after this. I personally do not think some rich man should be able to buy an institution like this one, just what I just said, like a toy, and then break it when he doesn't want to play with it anymore, he wrote. Bezos effed the paper, and instead of fixing it, he's destroying it, despite the fact that he could spend the money to make things right without even noticing its absence. Jonathan Cohn, political director for Progressive Mass, noted that the Post isn't the only media organization that's being gutted by a billionaire owner, referencing billionaire Larry Ellison, a major donor to President Trump, who recently acquired CBS News alongside other media properties. And look at what Barry Weiss is doing to CBS. Cut a program, a 60-minute program. Look at what they're doing to it. Look at who they put as the anchor. Let's be clear here. This is all by design, people. But there are solutions, but there's still one that I am not exactly sure how we're going to solve. But I'm going to tell you that in a minute. What we're seeing with WAPO and with CBS News is that the mega rich see real financial value for themselves in destroying journalism, he wrote. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. When we talk about authoritarianism, it's not just Donald Trump. Not at all. Why do you think they all migrated to Donald Trump? Why do you think they were all on the stage with Donald Trump? Well, we know why Bill Gates was at the party with him. We know that because Bill Gates knew that, hey, I need to keep all that stuff about Epstein quiet. So if Donald Trump can keep that quiet with the group, maybe it's okay. But so far, it's a problem. What we're seeing with WAPO and with CBS News is that the mega rich see real financial value for themselves in destroying journalism. Ching. When we talk, or rather, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, in a post written before the post layoffs were announced, drew attention to billionaire control over just traditional media, but social media as well. And this is what he said. When we talk about authoritarianism, it is not just Donald Trump, wrote Sanders. Elon Musk owns X. Bezos owns Twitch. Mark Zuckerberg owns Instagram and Facebook. Larry Ellison controls TikTok. Billionaires increasingly control what we see, hear, and read. What we see, hear, and read. Brothers and sisters, what are we to do? Let me tell you this. And I'm gonna say this with respect to politics done right. With respect to the articles I write, and I've been trying to put a lot of articles out, more articles than normal. With respect to the videos I produce, with respect to the books I write. There is one sense of control that we're going to lose with all these people that are going, and that is even Warren says I get my news from Substack, and that's great. We do a lot of work, and the combination of all of us out there, we are able to amplify the news very well. But we do need people on the inside. And I have not yet figured out, Bezos hasn't gotten rid of everybody, but you can bet your bottom dollar that we won't have all these different avenues inside of the Pentagon, inside of the State Department, inside of these other areas. There's going to be a lot missing. And a lot of the foreign correspondents, I don't know how much access they themselves are going to have. So what we are going to have to start doing is all working with whistleblowers from within. And the good thing about America is that a lot of people on the inside talk, right? And with the amount of independent journalists growing all around, each one of them are going to have some old contact. I remember one story I broke from Dallas. I got lucky. That contact remains. Many politicians want to do good, so they will be your contact. Some of them will tell you didn't hear it from me, like a couple told me at the Democratic party that I went to on Saturday. But it's going to be difficult. It's going to take more ingenuity to bring the news to you. It's going to take more ingenuity. So I don't normally answer posts like this, but I am going to just for the sake of answering. Let me read Mike Cicek's article, okay? Mike Cicek says, Egberto, the problem is that most people with a brain see through your BS that you post. That's why you don't have a decent following like most have after years of doing this. A decent following. I have more than 1 million views. This little one-person operation have more than 1 million views between Substack, YouTube, etc. I do a lot of my stuff on podcasts. Because you only see 90-something folks in my Substack and a few on here, your mind is so shallow that you think that is what I reach. My poor brother, my poor Mike Cicek, my favorite right winger, my brother. That's not how media work. There are some that have 800 to 1,000 people in their feed that are watching them live, but they don't have the writing that goes along with it, which is a permanent portion of journalism, which is the one where you get, if you take a look at the read, you don't know it, my brother. The reason I answer you, my brother, is for this. A lot of people that are reading what you just wrote may actually believe that what you said actually made sense, not realizing that there's so little that you know, my brother. Okay, so little that you know. You don't know the news business. You don't know how this works. I feel for you. But you got your 2 cents in. But what can I say? Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Anyway, continuing. Let me answer the other part too. Yet they do and make a living at it. All of us that are doing this make a living on this, but we don't get rich on this. We just get to pay the bills. This isn't about capitalism, brother. This is about doing the right thing. If I wanted to be a millionaire, I could have been. Look up my company if you have any doubt, my brother. Look up what I've invented, my brother. Look what I threw in the public domain, my brother. Madre mia, pobrecito. I guess you are so wedded in the capitalist capitalist design that you can't believe that somebody chose altruism. Somebody chose to do the right thing. Somebody chose to live frugally instead of the trappings of excess, instead of the trappings of capitalism. How? And I bet you call yourself a Christian. Anyway, that one just kind of irked me, guys. I'm sorry for really getting into him on that. But sometimes when these evil folks come out and say certain things, where their heart is, right? You know where their heart is, and you know that it is so hard for them to actually believe, right? I've been called stupid idiot for what I did. But you know what is a good thing? I go to sleep at night and I know that I'm making a difference. And it doesn't take a lot of money to make a difference. When I get an email that says you something clicked, that's what's important. When I have a daughter that made it out of 2 strokes, living home again, and survived so far very well, those are the things that make life worth living. All this stuff about that you MAGA guys care about, all this thing about destroying people's lives, all these things about throwing folks to the ground and feeling good about it, the evil you represent, you will learn to regret because it's coming right back at you. Right back at you. Look, guys, I got to get out of here. I'm a minute late, but I want to tell you all, love you all. Love you all. Please remember to support the program. You can support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please consider becoming a paid subscriber today. It helps. It ensures that we can continue doing this. It ensures that, yes, the bills get paid. It ensures that, we can sustain this. This is what it takes. Thank you, Jane B. I love you, all of you too. I love you, Jane B. And by the way, enjoy the book club and tell your folks you guys are real. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is where to come on board. Or if you're in Substack already, just click that subscribe button and consider becoming a paid subscriber. Got to get out of here. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Let me see if I can get there. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right, I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.